what have you been able to generate in terms of revenue in less than 5 months since hiring me?
So in terms of revenue, it's 150K. My close rate went from 6% to 23%.
Here today with Alex. How are you, man? It's great to see you.
Good, man. Good to see you too.
What
Looking
time is
good.
it for you over there? I know you're out in Australia.
9:09 a.m. So I've got
Nice.
about a 3 or 4 hour window to do all my sales calls and all my coaching calls before everyone goes sleepy bye-bye in the US.
That's awesome. Well, it's great to see you. And I know we were kind of chatting off camera about your results, what you've been able to do kind of inside of the program. So I'm excited to dive into that. But if you could, I mean, maybe kick us off and kind of just quick 30,000 foot view of who you are, your program, what you do.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Alex. I'm 29 years old. I am a veteran IT recruiter, and I started a career coaching business roughly about 2 years ago. And it was going decently well. I'd managed to figure out the marketing side of the fence in the sense that I'd built out a cold email funnel that allowed me to essentially book unlimited sales calls. So that was fantastic. So um, in May of last year, I ended up quitting my job and going full time into that career coaching business and thinking to myself that I had this runway to build this incredible, high revenue business. Now, unfortunately, I started to encounter some health issues. I ended up getting really sick from toxic mold. Ended up losing like 10 kilos in 2 weeks. I got so sick that I was basically looked like I was going through chemotherapy, is what my friends and family were saying. And I had to basically fly home in order to heal. And so I had to put the business on pause. And at some point, around about April this year, I decided to resurrect this business. Now, I wasn't completely healed by any stretch of the means, but I just spent, from September last year to April watching, friends of friends succeed and do really, really well in all these online coaching businesses. Obviously, we kind of run in similar circles, so we know some of those names. And so I just said, fuck it, like I need to get out there and I need to be doing something, right? Despite everything that was happening. So when I restarted my business, I was sleeping in a tent in my dad's backyard for 2 weeks because I was so sensitive to the small amounts of mold that are basically in every single household. And when I restarted my business, I had a little bit of success when I restarted it, comparable to what I had before. So I was charging around about 3K USD per client. And because it was cold email, when these people came to me, there wasn't a lot of trust, right? All they really had to go off of was like a LinkedIn profile. I was like this random guy that they'd never spoken to before. Like I got some recommendations on my profile, but that doesn't really sell you and, sell who you are and what you can actually do very well, right? And so I was able to make some sales because I've got a long history of sales and I would like to consider myself pretty good at it, but I had to make a lot of concessions in order to get those sales. So I'd have to do things like payment plans, pay at certain milestones. I'd have to do crazy shit like a small amount up front and then an amount when they landed the role. And it was just quite a bit of a struggle. And so I went, fuck this. Like, I need to solve this problem. I know this is fixable, right? If other people do it, I can do it too. And so what I did was I went onto YouTube and I looked up high ticket closing, right? And I found the biggest name in the business. Now, I'm not going to name names or throw shade or anything, but his name rhymes with Schmoll Morden. And so I was listening to old mate's stuff and trying to implement it in my sales calls. And it just wasn't really working, right? It was too scripted, it was too formulaic, and it didn't really seem to fit with what I was trying to do. And then at one point, I came across your stuff again because I'd actually known about you before. I was actually part of a program where you had just come in right as I was finishing up the program, and you were teaching sales. And I remember being on one of those group coaching calls and listening to you and thinking, man, this guy kind of knows his stuff. But obviously, time went on, kind of forgot about you. And then I came across your stuff again. And I remember I watched a couple of YouTube videos that you'd posted, a couple of interviews that you'd had, and I went, this is it. This is the shit. and I started to implement just a few small tips that you put out for free on YouTube. And I saw immediate changes in the way that my sales calls were going and the way that people were responding. And so I went, okay, I've got to work with this guy. Right now, I also have friends that speak very highly of you as well. And so when I hit you up to jump on a sales call, I was also in a bit of a unique position as well, in the sense that I couldn't really afford your program, right? Had a whole bunch of debt, and the little money that I had been able to make had gone towards paying down that debt, paying back my parents. You know, they were in a tough spot. You know, I'd been basically mooching off them for almost a year. You know, couldn't really afford to pay the bills or do anything. And so when I jumped on the sales call, I was like, I knew that I wanted to work with you. I was 100% confident that your shit was going to work because I saw your free stuff work really, really well, but it couldn't quite get me all of the way there. And so I was like, well, if his free stuff is this good, I looked at the testimonials and I went, well, clearly the program is going to be fantastic. So when we jumped on a sales call, it wasn't you really trying to sell me, it was me trying to sell you, because I was like, you know, I jumped on, I said, hey man, I don't really have much money left. And so, yeah, we had a chat and you took a bet on me. And, you know, I won't get into the specifics, but we worked out a rev share model. And yeah, the results were fucking fantastic.
Yeah, and by the way, that rev share model that I did with you, um, one, I did it because we had run in similar circles before. Like you had close friends that were also my close friends. So I knew you, I trusted you.
Mm.
That's number one. Number two, I also knew that you were a killer. And the only thing that you were missing was a couple tweaks and changes to your sales process to really catapult to the next level. You also had lead flow on demand. You could send out cold emails and book calls at will. So you had like, it was the perfect storm of opportunity where you had so many things going for you. And this was the one missing piece. And I'm like, dude, I can't leave this guy stuck where he's at. Like, I just can't do it. And I remember you being on that call and you were like, look, I got 700 US dollars to my name. And right when you said that, the first thought I had was like, dude, I'm not taking this guy's like last dollar. And you were like, I want to give it to you and join your program if you'll have me. And I'm like, but I also don't want to leave him stuck, but I don't want to take his last dollar. And you're like, dude, I know that you can help me. I have sales calls lined up for the rest of this week, next week. Like, I know that you can pull me out of this situation. I will give you the 700 US dollars. And I was like, I thought about it for a minute and I was like, all right, like, let's do it. And then you crushed it. So I'd love for you to talk like since hiring me. I know you graduated the program a little bit ago. We've both been busy, but we're finally doing the testimonial. So it's
Mhm.
been technically a little less than 5 months since the day that you hired me. So when
Yep.
you hired me, sleeping in a tent, 700 US dollars to your name that you gave to me, so effectively $0 to your name plus debt. What have you been able to generate in terms of revenue in less than 5 months since hiring me?
So in terms of revenue, it's 150K. And in terms of close rate, because I know that's going to be the next question, my close rate went from 6% to 23%.
So we 4x the close rate, which is still below where we want it to be. But sometimes when
Mhm.
there's such a big margin to make up, right? Like 4x in the close rate, effectively 4x is the business, which is obviously
Mhm.
exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, I mean, in terms of the close rate, so I'll be completely transparent as well in terms of the close rate. I still don't have all of the marketing assets that most people, and when I say most, I mean like I haven't really seen anyone else except maybe like one person out of 100 who don't have like a VSL, who don't have like a fleshed out Instagram page, who don't have like a Rolodex of like testimonials that they're slinging at clients before they come onto a call. So that 23% close rate is just from a cold email to someone who has absolutely no idea who I am. And at most, I've got sort of one to maybe two great testimonials that I send them, but they're essentially cold leads. They're people who jump on, and it's between 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. at night for them. Oftentimes they're like rubbing their eyes because they're so tired on the call. And so I have absolutely no doubt that with implementing those marketing assets and with changing the time zone. So just being able to take calls during the day, I have no doubt that that close rate would be at least double what that is with absolutely no change to process.
That is crazy to think about, right? Because there's a lot of people out there watching this video that have all of those assets and they're still closing at 6%, right? So
Mm.
it's like you were at 6% with zero assets, and then we were able to effectively 4x it to 23%, which 4x is
Mm.
the business without any assets, which is wild to kind of take into consideration because the post call booking page, the post call booking video, a slew
Mhm.
of testimonials, a VSL to explain your process, like all of that stuff does affect close rate. And that's what I help a lot of people inside the program build. I know for you with your health stuff, you're like, look, I can't build right now today a 6 figure a month company. I just can't handle it with your schedule and the health stuff
Mhm.
and like you getting better. And obviously your health is a priority. But it's awesome to know that you now have this skill set, which is, of course, the highest paid skill set on planet Earth, sales. And that doesn't go away. Whether you put the business on pause, you put it on full blast, like it doesn't matter. You now have this skill set and these kind of tools in your tool pouch that you can use on any given day that you want to book more calls, you want to build the business. And I know that as your health gets better, the business will get more time, attention, and love. And then it will keep getting better and better and bigger along the way. But what do you think was like, I know we did a lot together. And I always book calls late in the evening for you because I knew it was morning, late in the evening for me because I knew it was morning for you. But if we had to boil it down to like one biggest takeaway, what do you think the one single thing was that allowed you to 4x the close rate in our time together?
Biggest takeaway was discovery, for
Mm,
sure. 100%. To give you a bit of context, there were multiple aha moments every time that I went through. So, I mean, right out the gate, I didn't even book a one-on-one call. I just ripped through the video modules in the program, came out the gate swinging. I made my money back within like 2 days. So that was fantastic. That was amazing. And I consumed every morsel of information in those video modules like my life depended on it, because in some ways it actually did. And so um, I remember the first call that I actually booked in with you had nothing to do with sales, because I remember saying to you, hey man, these video modules are so good. This course is so good. I've been able to see massive improvements in my sales. I know that I'm not going to have a sales problem very soon. And so what I proactively did was I booked a one-on-one call with you and said, hey, how do I actually set up my business so that I'm able to like handle this new influx of clients? Because I was doing everything one-on-one and everything was in a bit of a shambles, right? And so once we did that and I started to move through the sales process, I started to encounter different bottlenecks, right? Now, what I thought was the be all and end all bottleneck was when I wasn't sitting in the buying pocket. As in, I would get to the end and people would give me objections and I would handle them. But because I came from a background of service selling or acting as an agent, that ability to really sit in that uncomfortable situation and really push someone to kind of make a decision that is best for them was something that I hadn't really done in a very long time. And I didn't really have a map for. So I thought that that was it. Now, once I got comfortable with that, what I realized was that all of the things in the buying pocket that were coming up were things that I hadn't handled in discovery. And so I was spinning my wheels for a little bit. I'd come out the gate, I'd had a ton of success. I think I remember I did like 50K in 2 weeks at some point. Incredible run rate. I actually had to put put the brakes on because I was having too many clients. Um, and yeah, and then when I restarted, I kind of came out and I was fumbling a little bit. I think it was like one for 12 or one for like 13 or something. And what had basically happened was I'd learned how to do it properly by going through the modules the first time. And then when I came back in and I tried to do it again, I'd sort of fallen back into some old habits. And then when I rewatched the modules and I went super in depth, I realized that what I was missing was how deep I was going in discovery. So what was happening was I was basically digging and looking for either green flags of commitment or red flags of potential objections. But what I was basically doing when I wasn't closing was I was digging. And then when I saw like the tip of a flag, I thought, oh, this is green. Like this is a commitment, right? People were speaking to me and telling me surface level details that I was taking at face value and then moving on. But because I hadn't dug deep enough, as soon as I got into that buying pocket, something would come up that would have come up way sooner that I would have been able to handle if I'd actually done discovery properly. So, I mean, we could talk about 1,000 different things that I learned as part of the program, man. Like, honestly, I could do like a 3-hour Joe Rogan podcast about it, but that was the single biggest thing that made the difference between a 6% and 23%.
Yeah, it's interesting. Most people go through that when they hire me. Like, I just need help with objection handling. And everybody thinks they need help with objection handling. But at the end of the day, 99.9% of objections are preventable. I would rather you suck at objection handling because you just simply never get objections. Like on my
Mhm.
sales call, somebody gives me an objection. I'm like, wait, wait, let me go grab my objections hat and put it on. I'm so used to I gotta like, dust it off. I'm so used to not using the objection handling skills because when you do a deep, truly deep discovery, you can uncover all of these things and you can just weed through them proactively rather than reactively kind of on the defense during your objection handling. And so I think discovery is wildly overlooked in terms of
Mm.
sales calls. Everybody wants to know the one-liner objection handlers, and it's like, dude, you can be the best objection handler in the world, but when it's coming from a place of defense and reactivity rather than being proactive, it just doesn't land well in that moment of the call with the prospect. And most of the time, you go back and forth for a while and like, dude, I just need to think about it. I need to think about it. And then they never buy. So, and
Mm.
it's cool for you because, like you said, all these people are cold. Like it's cold email. They were getting an email in their inbox. They're not referrals. They didn't watch a 3-hour VSL with you. Like they are totally cold. That
Mhm.
discovery is even more important because people gauge your level of intelligence based on the quality of the questions that you ask, not the statements that you make. So logically, how's it going to work out when you get on a call with a cold prospect? You ask them 4 questions. You're like, "Yep, I can help you." What? Like they don't believe you. And then you could have the most articulate pitch in the world, but no matter what, they're going to throw objections at you. So it's cool to see you kind of weeding through discovery in a deep, deep way. And I know we did a lot of call reviews for you. We also worked a lot on brevity, like during discovery, just like question, answer, get everything you need. Then it's kind of your turn to talk in the pitch so you can help them. And it's been awesome to watch you grow and progress so quickly.
Yeah, man, for sure. I also want to
Absolutely.
say that the things that I've learned in this program, like brevity, for example, have been so powerful, not just in the context of sales, but also in how I actually communicate and how I show up for my clients. Right. The energy that I have now when I jump on a call and like a group call or a one-on-one call with my clients is so much more powerful. And the things that I say are taken on board so much, so much easier. Right. I felt like before the way that I was speaking was kind of a little bit all over the place, right? Like I've got some pretty good processing power, so I always know what I'm going to say, in the next 5 things that I'm going to say. Except the way that I was communicating it wasn't communicating in a way that actually impacted people. So when I took that on board, a lot of your testimonials speak about authoritative leadership. I think that's a big component of it, was how you're actually presenting yourself and the cadence and that brevity. And so that's made a huge difference, not just in sales, but it basically in my entire life. So
That's amazing. Yeah,
yeah,
I
man.
love to hear that the ripple effect, not just with you, but the way you show up for your clients, family, like it truly impacts other areas. I don't know if you checked Slack in the past hour, but Victor posted and he had said that he was on the phone with his dad, and his dad was like a little
Yeah.
strapped for cash and like struggling a little bit. And so he basically taught him what I taught to Victor was like that authoritative leadership and how to like actually close deals and be viewed as the leader. And then his dad went out and closed like a $5,000 job that he really needed in that moment, and it's something that Victor taught to him that I taught to Victor. So it's cool to like see the ripple effect, not just with you personally, but the way that you're able to impact and lead in other areas of your life as well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
100%. I
So I
did see
mean,
that actually. I thought,
you saw
and
that? Yeah.
I
I thought
did. I did.
that was
Yeah,
great.
that was awesome. To give it another example of like a ripple effect. So I have slowed things down on the sales side to focus on customer success because I want to get that dialed in before I throw jet fuel onto this bonfire that I've got right now. Right. Before I strap the rockets to this little, I don't want to strap rockets to a smoking Toyota. I want to strap the rockets to a Ferrari, right? So that's kind of what I'm focusing on right now, is making sure that I've got a Ferrari in terms of client success. And a big part of that has been the authoritative leadership and how I actually show up for my clients, which honestly was probably the most impactful thing for me on a personal level with working with you, because my situation was unique, as in where I was coming from. And the way that you showed up for me was, honestly, man, sorry, I'm getting a little bit emotional thinking about it, but you honestly showed up for me in a way that I have never had anyone show up for me before. Right now, obviously, we had like a paid agreement, but you can tell based on the little nuances of how people respond to messages, how they act on one-on-one calls. Like, you can tell how much somebody actually cares about the success of the people that they actually work with based on 1,000 different factors. And when you work in this industry, you get pretty good at reading people. And so the example that you set for me in terms of how much you actually care about not just my sales performance, but about me as a person and what's best for me was had such a huge impact on me, that it had such a ripple effect, that energy is now something that I carry forward with my clients, right? Like, I have a client right now who hasn't even finished the program, who has told me that she has a friend that she's referring to me, and has told me that she will be fronting the cost of my program completely out of her own pocket, because she trusts 100% that I can help this guy.
Wow.
Yeah. And I can say with 100% certainty that I would have done what was needed to be done in order to help her be successful and get the result that she needed before I met you. But the level to which you actually show up for your clients is something that I took from you and I implemented. And I don't think that I would have that kind of response from people. So
Wow.
yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, I'm getting messages from clients that are so impactful. I had one client who basically said, "Hey, you should seriously have like an upsell for like a life coach certification, or like a therapy upsell or something like that, because she's going through a bit of a slump right now." And then I went to war for her. I jumped at a one-on-one call. I held her feet to the fire, but with compassion. And I sat in a call for 2 hours with her. This is outside of what I normally give to my clients. And yeah, she messaged me the next day and said, "Thank you so much for everything that you did. You should have an upsell, rah, rah." And I said, "It's not an upsell, it's a core feature."
So
And
good.
that's what I got from you, man.
So, dude, that's the best compliment that I can get, because it's like it's really cool. Yeah, we 4x the close rate, make 150K, but like I love that. It's amazing. Makes my heart happy. And it's like, yes, let's make money and let's help people. But my biggest priority, and I say it all the time, is client success. Like right now, I'm on the hunt for 100 video testimonials of just happy people that have gone through my program. That's all I really care about. It's like I know that if people are paying me, I need to steward that money in the best way possible. And I've seen so many companies crash and burn because they lose sight of client success. They start making 100 grand a month, 200 grand a month, whatever it is, and they just lose sight of client success. And it's like they always say, "Oh, what got you here won't get you there," but it really will. And it's actually what got you here. If you just double down on it, it will keep getting you further and further. And what got me to a 7-figure business is client success. So I'm just going to keep tripling down on that. And if you never lose sight of helping people, if you help enough people get what they want, you can have everything. And so I appreciate you saying that. But I guess last question, I'm curious, what would you tell somebody who's thinking about maybe hiring me, maybe they're on the fence thinking about potentially working with me? What would you tell them?
Stop thinking about it. You don't need to think about it. You already know that this program is going to help you. You already know that this program is going to double your close rate. It's going to double your revenue. You can look through all of the testimonials to make sure that Austin is who he says he is and that he can actually do what you're looking for him to do. You don't need to think about it. If you have a sales problem, and when I say sales problem, if you're not closing 60% of the leads or more that are coming through your pipeline, then you have a sales problem if you're in the coaching business. I've been in sales for 10 plus years. I've broken pretty much every single record I've ever looked at. And when I realized that I needed help in this arena, I didn't need to think about whether or not I should hire someone to do it. I knew that I needed to hire someone to do it. It was just a question of who it was. So I was able to put my ego aside and realize that even though I had some success in this arena, this was a new modality. This was something different than what I'd done before. And if I wanted to level up, if I wanted to compress time, if I wanted to get to the level that I knew was possible, which is multiple six figures per month, I mean, that's the end goal, then I needed to hire someone that was able to fix this problem for me. And out of the, hundreds of sales coaches online that teach this stuff, I couldn't find anyone that was better than Austin. His free stuff worked so fucking quickly. It was like, bang. I was like, oh shit, okay. Massive difference immediately. And also, to put it into context, the way that Austin broke everything down in terms of like his process in the video course was so good that when I started, I paid this man my last $700. I had complete faith, complete trust. Obviously, I knew a bit about him. And then I went in and I made my money back within like 2 days. Not only that, but I managed to do 50K in 2 weeks. And we'd only done, I think, maybe like one or two one-on-one calls at that point. So yeah. So if you're thinking about it, you're just
That
wasting
seems to be
time.
the recurring theme. People just hire me, go through the modules. Like Tim just did that. He did 20K for the first time in a 30-day span. He went through all the modules, 2 group calls, one-on-one call, has a record-breaking 30 days. Q did that, right? She did 40K in 4 weeks just off the modules and one-on-one call. Like it's and that's why I won't refilm them. I won't redo them. I won't update them. Like I'll add more stuff, but I don't want to redo the core modules because it's like the feedback I keep getting on them is it's stupid. It's obviously working, but dude, I'm really proud of you. And I know you're in a unique situation with your health stuff, but it's awesome to see you persevere through it because so many people would just use that as an excuse, shut the business down for 5 years, like just have no ambition, kind of give up. And you've been like, look, let me do what I can. And right now, can you make $100,000, $200,000 a month from a skill set perspective? Yes. From a bandwidth and health perspective and time, no. But that didn't stop you from at least doing what you could. And I know every time I check in with you, it's either like marketing and sales are on and you're enrolling like crazy, or they're off and you're just fulfilling and doing client success because you don't really have the bandwidth to do all of it at the same time, which I would assume most people, 99% of people watching this, they do, right? They are healthy. And I think it's also a reminder for us who are healthy and can just work 18 hours a day every day if we want to and eat whatever we want and sleep like shit and still get up the next day and drink a bunch of caffeine and do it. Like we have to count our blessings because that's not something that you can do. But I want you to know, and I told you this before we even started this testimonial, like, dude, I'm really proud of you because most people wouldn't do what you're doing. And it's awesome to see you persevering and kind of pushing through. So,
Yeah. Thanks, man. That
of
means a lot.
course,
It really does.
absolutely. So,
Yeah.
well, dude, I'm looking forward to keeping up with you. Looking forward to your health continually getting better because you've made a world of progress, but looking forward to getting it tip top back to 100%. And then I know the business is going to be disgusting. Like if you're a career coach out there, yeah, you're gonna get lapped many, many, many times by Alex. I can guarantee it. Like once the ankle weights are off and you can just run full speed, like it's gonna be scary what you could do. So I'm excited for you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I feel the same. And this isn't the end chapter, you know? Like the next stage would be once I really have it cranking, once I get to that 60% myself, I want to offload, which isn't going to take very long. I'm going to be hitting you up because you're the man. I need you to help me build my team. You know, I wouldn't want anyone else to train them. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
this
awesome,
isn't the
bro.
end, man. This is just the beautiful beginning.
I'm looking forward to it. You've been a pleasure to work with. So any extra business we could do together, I'm game.
Hell yeah, man.